Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach, Wamalak Abishai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades, for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahushai. A hearty mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Akwaf out there, the sincere sisters that are out there zealous, diligent, and on fire, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men. Shalom to the children. Shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shabbat Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashmi Abishah, Shabbat Shalom to everybody tuning in live. Yvette McKellar, Yaakov Israel, Sweet Styles, D Rivers, Don Israel to Mead, Praise Yahweh, Vernon Brody, Aka Rectitude, HBK Lit, Benjamin Youngwolf, Don at 144K, Dennis Rodman, Kwame Yasha'Allah, P. Branch, Ephraimite Ak, and everybody else again tuning in, and that will tune in, Lord willing. Prophetic order of events, the first 1,000 years. We're going to dive into prophecy through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bashmi Abishai, how things are going to transition prophetically. So it's one thing to go into prophecy, it's another thing to go into the chronology of prophecy to understand the sequence of events from the time that we're beamed up to the time that the nations are put into subjection, to the time of massive conversion of the heathen, to the time of the walls being built. You know, how are these things going to play out, and what sequence are they going to play out? What comes before the other? So we want to touch on these prophecies and pretty much connect the dots through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Abishai, so there can be more clarity concerning the sequence of events that pertains to the Israelites upon our deliverance, and also what pertains to the other nations at the time of our deliverance. So let's go to Revelation chapter 19, and I'm going to read verse number 10 first. Right? This is Revelation chapter 19 and 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see, thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushai. Worship the Most High. For the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy. So John the Revelator told the angel, or the angel told him, look, don't bow down to me. Right? Remember, John wanted to bow down to the angel. The angel said, see, thou do it not. I'm your brother. And he said the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy. So we want to touch on the spirit of prophecy through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai concerning how things are going to play out. It's important to understand the sequence of events, because a brother may get confused. He might think that one event is going to happen before the other. He might think that the walls of the kingdom are going to get built first, and then we're going to have to do this, and then this prophecy is going to have to happen next. So we want to touch on that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai. Let's go to Psalms chapter 50 and 5. So I broke this up into it's like a 7, 1, 2, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 9, 8, maybe 9. Right? We'll say 9, and then we'll round up to 10. 9 different events, right? And we'll do 10 for completion. So the first major event that's going to happen, we're going to start this timeline immediately at our salvation, which is us getting beamed up in the chariots and being delivered by Yahushai, Saint Michael the Archangel, and the infinite chariots of Israel and the horsemen thereof. So that's where we're going to start, right? So this is Matthew chapter 50 and 1. The mighty God, even Yahweh, hath spoken, and hath called the earth from the rising of the sun unto the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, the Most High hath shined. So this prophecy, or the beginning of the psalm, goes into Yahushai delivering the elect. Right? Let's read on. Our God shall come and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tempestuous round about him. Because when remember, the prophecy says in Isaiah chapter 66 and 15, for behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. So David said the same thing. It's going to be very tempestuous. That's that whirlwind of the chariots and the fire that Yahushua is coming with. For brothers that may not be familiar with that, that is one of the classic precepts. Let's go to Isaiah 66 and 15. So we're going to start this breakdown and prophecy at Yahushua's return. For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. This is when Yahushua returns, destroys America, and proceeds to destroy the rest of his enemies. At that same time, here's what's going to happen. Psalms chapter 50 and 4. He's not just going to slay people. Remember, he's also going to deliver his elect. Psalms 50 and 4. He shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth that he may judge his people. That's judgment day when Yahushua returns. Here's what he's going to say. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Who is Yahushua telling this to? To the angels. He's telling the angels to, when he returns, to gather his saints unto him. So those that are going to be in the chariots are those that made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice. So when Yahushua returns, he's gathering up all of the elect saints whose forefathers made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice. Right? Let's go to Matthew. So this is the first event we want to touch on. Matthew chapter 24, and I have a lot of precepts. Lord willing, I have time to go through them all, right? But we'll go through as much as we can through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Some of these we go over quite often, so I'm not going to harp and spend a lot of time on it. But others are maybe newer to certain individuals, and those will kind of isolate and really chop into pieces and break down. But the return of our Lord is something that we've touched on quite often. So this is Matthew 24 and 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Same thing in Isaiah 66. Same thing in Psalms. A lot of our fathers saw the exact same vision because it's all the same spirit, but it was described in a different fashion. Ezra described it one way in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Habakkuk described it another way in Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter. John the Revelator described it on 2 accounts, really multiple accounts. Revelation, the 1st chapter, Revelation, the 6th chapter, Revelation, the 14th chapter, and Revelation, the 19th chapter, right? Then we also went into David in Psalms chapter 50. So when Yahushua returns, all of the heathen are going to mourn when they see Yahushua return. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So this links directly up with Psalms 50, where he said, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. How is he going to do that? Matthew 24 and 31 tells you it's going to be done by the angels. And those saints who made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice are the elect, right? And they're going to be gathered from the 4 winds. So Israelites that live in America, Israelites that may be in Australia, the elect that may be in Europe, the elect that may be in Russia, the elect that may be in the Netherlands, the elect that may be in the land of Ham, modern day Africa. At the same time, they're going to get caught up into the chariots of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? Let's go to Jeremiah 31, right? Let's get a little more proof on that, right? Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse number 8. I'm going to start at 7, right? Jeremiah 31 and 7. Right, Salakia. So let's read this. For thus saith Yahweh, Sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. Right? So it's prophesied for the Israelites to be saved, the remnant, because not every Israelite is going to make it. You got an Israelite, you got a lot of Israel who knows that they're Israel, but they don't keep any laws and commandments. You have Israelites that don't believe in Yahweh Shai, they're not going to make it, right? You have plenty of people who say Shalom, who made a post, they're from the tribe of Judah. You got people saying they're from the 12 tribes of Judah, not the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Judah. So a lot of people have heard about this truth, but everybody's not that elect remnant. That's what the Most High is going to save. Verse 8, behold, I will bring them from the north country, that's North America, and gather them from the coast of the earth. That could be Hawaii, Fiji, it could be New Zealand, right? And with them, the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. So that great company is also found in Revelation 7 and 9, right? That's the great company. This is Revelation chapter 7 and 9. See, Revelation 7 and 9 calls it a great multitude. Jeremiah 31 calls it a great company. Okay? So Revelation 7 and 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. So this represents that great multitude, that great company, that 1/3 of Israelites that are scattered throughout the coast of the earth from the north country and other parts of the known world. So 7 and 9 links directly up with Jeremiah 31. Now, Revelation 7 and 9, even though you may have been taught or may have heard that this is speaking about actual ethnic heathen, right? Moabites, Edomites, it's not. Because when you go to verse 12, it explains it. Or verse 13 or 14, Salakia. It reads, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, these are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So the only ones that were prophesied to come out of great tribulation are the Israelites, right? So these are souls that came out of Jacob's trouble, persecution, guillotines, FEMA camps, right? Shot, killed, persecuted, afflicted, and the Most High delivered them. Okay? So going back to this in Jeremiah 31, that's that great company that's returning. Jeremiah 31 and 9. They shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. So when we're beamed up, we're going to be in those chariots while Yahweh Shai destroys America and while other missiles are aimed on this side of the world. That's what's going to happen when we're inside the chariots. That great company is going to be beamed up in the chariots. Now, let's go to Isaiah 26. After we're beamed up, we're going to be in those chariots for a certain dispensation of time until America is destroyed by the missiles. Other nations are affected by World War III. And when the chariots come and destroy this place, right? Now, the prophecy says in 1 hour, which means a short time. Does it have to actually be 60 minutes? No. The Most High can take this place out in any time, right? So let's read this in Isaiah 26 and 19. It reads, thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. That's the resurrection, right? The dead and Hamashiach shall rise first. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. So they're going to be given life. Dew is moisture, water, right? Gives people life. So spiritually, our people are being quickened by the word of God, the water, but also the earth is casting out the dead, which goes into the resurrection. Now, here's the point of verse 20. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. So we're going to be in the chariots until, we're not going to be there forever. We're going to be there for a moment. The Lord calls it a little moment, because it's going to be a swift destruction on these nations. But we're going to be there until the destruction is done, primarily in America. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. So all of our murders that were done behind the closed doors in the dark, the Most High is going to vindicate us. He's going to justify us and avenge us. But we're going to be in those chariots while Yahushua is doing that. While we're in the chariots, we're going to be in a state of euphoria, as if we're in a dream and as if we're outside of reality, right? We're going to be in mirth and joy. This is Psalms chapter 126:1. Here's what's going to be going down inside the chariot. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Because remember, when you're beamed up in that chariot, you're not, reality is going to have to set in, because two things. One, in Revelation 11 and 12 on down, it says the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. So your heart is going to be beaten, because you might be on the verge of having your head chopped off before you get beamed up. You might see the missiles coming into America before you get beamed up. You might be getting chased by the military, and they about to aim and shoot you in the back of the head. You might be in the wilderness, destitute. You hear dogs in the background chasing you, man. And then as they jump on you, you get beamed up. So the remnant are going to be affrighted. So once you're there, you're going to look around, and it's going to be like a dream, because you were this close away from death inside that chariot. Verse 2, then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord had done great things for them. So in that chariot, you're going to be singing, you're going to be laughing, you're going to be rejoicing. Right after you get over that initial fear, that initial dream-like state that we're going to be in, then reality is going to set in, and you're going to look down, and you're going to see the destruction of America. You're going to see this place on fire. Let me get that in Psalms 91. So here's the sequence of events. Psalms chapter 91 and verse 7. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. So you're going to be protected. You're going to see the wicked be destroyed while you're in that chariot, right? And you're not going to be there forever. Now, while you're in that chariot, Yahushua is going to be destroying America. That's Isaiah the 19th chapter. Let's go to Isaiah 19. Right? And there's going to be war in other parts of the earth. And as Yahushua goes into the valley of decision, all of the nations are going to stop the wars that they have amongst each other, and they're going to begin to fight against the Lord. Right? So let's read this. This is Isaiah 19:1. The burden of Egypt, behold, Yahweh, Ba'ashmi Abishai, rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. So that's what's going to happen in America. The swift cloud is talking about a fathership, what the world calls a UFO. That's him riding upon that swift cloud and coming into America by means of the chariots, Babylon the Great. So that's what's going to be happening. While we're in there, the Lord is going to be cutting this place down. Right? He's going to be cutting this place down. Now, let's go to Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, right? Now, also, because there's so much that's going to be going on, also, by that time, let's flip a map of the Middle East. Okay. Now, here's a map of the Middle East. We often speak about the Valley of Decision, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and we may touch on that as well. Okay. Now, you're going to have the major peak of global conflict in this region right here, where you see Israel, Jordan, Syria. All right, you see that, this is where the Valley of Jehoshaphat is, and it's not the actual literal valley where everybody's literally going to be there. Speaking about this region right here, right? It's not actually in Megiddo. All nations aren't going to just be in Megiddo, just fighting in that one area and nowhere else. It'll be this region. It's where World War III is going to be happening, right? Now, the major hotspot is in the land of Israel, right? Specifically, this region right here. Now, wars are going to be kicking off right here. And when Yahushua is returning, he's also going to come to this region after America is destroyed, right? And once he's here, that's where you read about Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Okay? And in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, you're going to read about these nations that are fighting each other here. They're going to stop the battles that they have amongst each other, and they're going to have a collaborative effort to stop Yahushua and to destroy the saints, right? So let's get this in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Like I said, we got a lot of different prophecies we want to touch on, and we want to touch on them in order through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahushua. All right, let's go to Second Ezra, chapter 13. Right, this is Second Ezra, chapter 13 and verse number 29. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. That's why it says all of the tribes mourned. Or in Revelation 1 and 7, it says they shall all wail, because they're going to be they're not going to understand what's actually going on. And it's going to be to their dismay and surprise that Yahushua is going to return, because they're walking in darkness, right? So he's going to come to the astonishment of them that dwell on earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. That's global conflict. That's World War III. That's your kings of the East. That's your Russias, your Chinas, your North Koreas, your Indias, your Pakistans, right? That's your NATO fighting. That's NATO turning on America. That's your CSTO, your Collective Security Treaty Organization, your Shanghai Corporation Organization, right? That's your Peninsula Shield Force, right? Your Arab League, right? That's all these military alliances throughout the known world fighting against one another. Verse number 32. And where the major fight is going to be in this region. How do you know that? Let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Right? Joel chapter 3. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse number, let's start at 9. Joel chapter 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So the Lord has a spirit of war on the earth. That's why nations are building up nuclear arsenals. They're showing their citizens where they can find the nearest nuclear fallout shelter. They're giving them pamphlets and manuals how to hide and duck for cover in the event that World War III is going to happen. So there's a spirit of war on the earth. Beat your plowshares into swords, your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So even third world countries, nations who at one time in previous wars were not significant, now they are becoming strong because technology and knowledge is increasing. And they now possess nuclear weapons as well. Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Here's the point. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So that's Yahweh's Shabbat, Yahweh's decision or his judgment, the judgment of Yahweh, where he makes a decision and destroys these other nations. It's going to be in this region right here. Now, you really look up the Valley of Jehoshaphat, it was an actual location, right, east of Jerusalem. But it's really going into this major area right here in the so-called Middle East. And that's where all of the armies are going to be gathered together. So when Yahweh returns, he's going to head to that region with the fathership. And as those nations see Yahweh and the chariots there, they're going to stop the battle they have amongst themselves. This is 2nd Ezra 13 and 32. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest, as a man ascending. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come, and to overcome him by fighting. So Yahweh is going to be there in that chariot, and all of the nations are going to come and attempt to destroy Yahweh, which is never going to happen, but that's the Lord is going to program them to do that. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 20, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 20. This ties into this. Revelation chapter 20 and verse number 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And that's not talking about 1,000 years after the kingdom of heaven is established, right? There's not going to be a major war 1,000 years after the kingdom is already there. That would contradict major prophecies, such as Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, where the Lord said, nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Hosea, the 2nd chapter, 2 and 14 on down, that he would break the sword and the battle out of the earth, right? So there are many prophecies that speak against Yahweh having to fight a third time to take the nations down. So what does this 1,000 years mean? This 1,000 years began during the Renaissance, when the deadly head that was wounded came back into power, when the Roman Empire was revitalized, resurged itself, and Europe began to be a major power again. That's what this is talking about. That's when you had the age of discovery, right? You had explorations to the new world. You had the Renaissance. You had the age of enlightenment. All these things happened when the Europeans, the Edomites, came back into power. Because prior to this, they were sealed up, and the Most High took their power away from them. And that's why you have something called the Dark Ages, or the medieval times. Solomon calls it the midst of the times, and the 7th chapter of Wisdom of Solomon. And the so-called white man didn't have any power when the Western Roman Empire fell around 476 AD. And his power was taken away, and he was chased up into the mountains. So I know I'm paraphrasing a lot, and I'm quoting a lot of different prophecies, but time would literally fail me to touch on every single point because there's so many details. So I want to summarize certain things, but also provide the clarity about what's going on, right? So this is the Edomites coming back into power, right? Verse number 8 in Revelation 20. And shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So this is Russia and its respective allies, Iran and other countries that are going to be gathered together. This links up with 2nd Ezra 13 to fight against the saints and fight against Yahushua. Okay? Verse number 9. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. So that's Jerusalem and the people. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. We're going to read this in 2nd Ezra 13 and Ezekiel 39. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Lake of fire, I mean, they're just going to be destroyed by Yahushua and the chariots. It's not the Lord has to physically put them into a physical lake, and the lake has this boundary to this boundary. The lake of fire is just a metaphor for destruction, right? It's not an actual place underground called hell. It's not, okay, it's from this place to this place. It's 15 kilometers wide and 20 kilometers long. No, you can't stop thinking like an Edomite, right? It's a metaphor about the destruction that comes by fire. So the beast and a false prophet are already tormented and destroyed because America is already cut down, right? And its system is already cut down. The beast with two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon is already destroyed. So when Yahushua is in that Middle East region and the saints are down, then they're going to come and try to fight against Yahushua and compass the camp of the saints. But Yahushua is going to destroy them, right? So let's read that in Ezekiel. Actually, let's go back to 2nd Ezra 13, all right? And then I'll go to Ezekiel 39. Matter of fact, let's do Ezekiel 39 first. Right? Ezekiel 38 and 39 go hand in hand. So here's Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse number 1. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So this is a prophecy of Russia and Russia's subordinates, their allies. Okay, you read about Meshech, you read about Tubal, you read about Persia, you read about all these different kingdoms. So this goes into Iran and Turkey and all its respective allies. And I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts and bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. So the Lord's going to take a portion of them to bring them upon the mountains of Israel. And they're coming from the north parts. The north parts represent Russia, Siberia, that part of the earth. That's one of the most northern lands in the earth. That's why it's called the north parts, right? Or sometimes you'll hear it being called the north quarters. Verse 3, and I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thine arrows to fall out of thy right hand. So the Lord's going to dismantle the military power. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and all the people that is with thee, and I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. So the Lord is going to cut them down at that very moment. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, said the Lord God. And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel. And I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore, and the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel. So at that point, that's going to be the peak of the destruction, right? That's when all of the military of these other nations are finally subdued. America's already subdued, right? When you read Revelation, the 19th chapter, which I may get, you read about the beasts and the kings of the earth ready to make war against the Lamb. And Yahushua destroys them. So Ezekiel 38, or rather 39, Revelation, the 19th chapter, 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, they all work collectively to speak about Yahushua destroying the nations as they attempt to destroy us and the Lord, because we're going to be there. Now, let's go to Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Okay, Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse number 34. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. So this links up with Ezekiel 39, right? They're all going to try to destroy the Lord. Revelation, the 19th chapter, right? Verse 35. But he shall stand upon the top of the mount of Zion, and Zion shall come and shall be showed unto all men, being prepared and builded like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. Right? So Yahushua is going to be on his fathership, but it's also going to be the elect, right? That are going to be on the earth. They're going to be beamed down on the earth. Verse number 37, in that land of Israel. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts and the torments wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto fire. So he's going to destroy them. And then what is he going to do? Right? I want to jump down because it says he's going to gather together that peaceable multitude. Right? This verse 48. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders. Now, when he destroyeth the multitude of the nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain, because his people are going to be in that land, going to come out of America, these different lands. Them so-called Jews going to get blown out that land, going to be there. When Yahushua comes, when he's there, the nations are going to try to destroy us, pursuant to Revelation 20, Ezekiel 39. He's going to destroy them, their dead bodies, their tanks, their weapons. All of those vehicles are going to fall upon the mountains of Israel. Some are going to be destroyed completely, but then you're going to have dead bodies and other bullets and ammunition and tanks and things that are going to be in that region. See, after war, you're going to have a major process of cleaning up the earth. The Lord isn't going to just snap his fingers and all of the dead bodies are gone. All of the tanks are gone. All of the silos, they're all just gone because he snapped his finger. No. There's a process that has to pan out. When he destroyed the multitude of nations that are gathered together, pursuant to Ezekiel 39, he's going to defend his people that remain. Remain where? They were already caught up in the clouds, but he's going to put them back on that earth. That's what Revelation 20 was saying. They're going to compass the camp of the saints round about. And then shall he show them great wonders. So Yahushua is going to show us great wonders once he comes out that chariot, once he comes down, right? He's going to have the people that are gathered together. Tells you that earlier in this chapter as well, right? When he comes down from the mount. Let me jump up a little bit. This is Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 12. Afterwards saw I the same man come down from the mountain, zoom in, and call unto him another peaceable multitude. So you read about those being the 10 tribes, right? But you're going to have all of the tribes there, but this isolates the 10 tribes. Once he's done destroying the nations, he's going to call together the peaceable multitude, because they're going, once he comes down, they're going to be there, right? Those saints are already going to be on the earth. They were in the chariots when America was destroyed, and they're going to be put on the earth. And those are who Yahushua is going to defend when all of the nations attempt to destroy him and the saints, pursuant to Revelation chapter 20. We read in Ezekiel chapter 39 that all of those bodies and weapons and things are still going to be there, right? They're still going to be there. Now, let's go to Zechariah chapter 12, right? Let's dive further into this. This is Zechariah chapter 12 and verse number 3. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. This is the exact same account of Revelation chapter 20, verses 8 on down. When are all of the people going to be gathered together against us? Not only the days of Jacob's trouble, but what we just read in Revelation 20. And that's when Yahushua is going to return, as we read again, and destroy the armies of those nations. And that day, saith Yahweh, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. So the chariots are going to come and destroy the military and the strength of these nations. That's what the horse represents, and the rider. The horses are like these fighter jets. The riders are the pilots. The horse could be a tank, and the rider's the operator of that tank, right? And he's going to destroy them with fire and brimstone to save us. Verse number 5. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like an hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. So the same time that the nations attempt to cut us down and destroy us, Yahushua is going to cut those nations down, defend his people that remain, show them great signs, and he's going to give us the green light to go and now subdue those other nations, right? People in Europe, the Netherlands, Iceland, Sweden, China, wherever the Lord sends us to, the land of Ham, Africa. And we're going to be like a fire, devouring all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. Let's go back to Ezekiel 39, right? Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse number 8. Behold, it has come, because we're going to have that spiritual power. We're going to get beamed up with a spiritual body. We're going to come down with spiritual power. And we're going to physically beat the hell out of these heathen and round them up and put them in slavery and put them in prisons until a set time, right? We're going to get all of that. In Isaiah 24, it tells you that. Behold, it has come. It is done, saith Yahweh. This is the day whereof I have spoken. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth, and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the handstaves and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, because there's going to have to be a cleansing. I mean, you got to think about it, man. There's going to be all types of bullets, magazines, ammunition, tanks, residue of missiles, gunpowder. I mean, these devils got drones. They have air bases. All that stuff has to be burned and destroyed. Now, it says 7 years, but it's not literally 7 years. 7 is a number of perfection and completion. So for a set period of time, the earth is going to be getting cleansed. And that land of Jerusalem, see, we're not going to be able to just build the kingdom of heaven in Jerusalem, or build the kingdom in Jerusalem on top. It's like I wanted to put, I'm trying to pull this up again, right? Bear with me. I believe that this was it. We're not going to build up Jerusalem on top of just dead bodies and waste. And it's not going to be a kingdom that just falls out the sky. There's a process that must transpire for the kingdom to be physically built. And one of the main things that have to be done is that land has to be cleansed. It's so defiled, it's so tainted, it's so polluted, and the wars that are going to be going on there is going to leave the residue of the nations, their armies, their weapons, and their military might and vehicles that are physically going to be there. So the Lord is going to give us the power to burn all that stuff, however that happens, right? Destroy it all. And we have to go through the process of cleaning that land before we begin to build anything. Not going to be able to build the walls and lay the cornerstone and make the nation build up the walls and the kingdom until that happens first. So there's a lot of events that have to happen. Now, going back to Ezekiel 39 and 10. So that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest. For they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, said the Lord. So we're going to be robbing these nations. We're going to be spoiling them. Any gold, any rubies, the mercy seat, the Ark of the Covenant. Now the Lord did say in Jeremiah the 3rd chapter, that's not going to be done anymore. But all of our holy vessels and things we're going to get back, man. And whatever else we want. We're going to rob people. Yes, the Most High God is promoting robbery. He's using the so-called black man, Hispanic and Native American man to rob the so-called white man. We're going to rob them. They've been robbing us. We're going to rob them. When you rob somebody, you take whatever the hell you want. They might fight back. Give me that. Then we're going to snatch that. And they got the song back in the day, Annie Up, man. Now, we're not going to be playing that song because that song is, song ain't right. Hey, but if you heard that song, you know what I'm talking about, man. Right? We're going to be in the spirit of Annie Up. Go get that fool, man. We're going to be taking whatever we want to take from these heathen. Right? That's the spirit we're going to be on. Devouring all the people on the right hand and on the left. Yahweh Shah is going to give us the green light to do so. Let's go to, well, let's read on. Zechariah chapter 12 and 7. The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. So Judah is going to remain that top tribe. And that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. We read that in 2nd Ezra 13. He shall defend his people that remain. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of Yahweh, Ba'ashmi Awashad, before them. So the most feeble brother, you got a brother, he's new, but he made it. Right? You got brothers, they might be short, might be weak, might have infirmities, might wear glasses with the tape in the middle of it, right? Pushing his glasses up, trying to find the book of Genesis. He's going to make it. And he's going to be like David in that day because he's going to have spiritual power. Last time I checked this, the woman sang songs and said David slew his 10,000s and Saul his thousands. So he that is feeble is going to be killing thousands of other nations and robbing them. And the house of David is going to be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. Now, one angel killed 185,000 Assyrians. One angel did that. So imagine every member of the elect with power like an angel. And it shall come to pass in that day. You could say, well, when is that going to happen? It's telling you. It shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. So that goes back to Revelation chapter 20, where all of the nations come past the camp of the saints round about. Ezekiel 39, when they all come to destroy us, the Lord is going to destroy them. All of their bodies, carcasses, waste, military weapons are going to be destroyed. Some are still going to be there that we're going to have to destroy. And then the Lord is going to give us the green light to be like David and to be like God and rob the heathen and take whatever the hell we want from them and put them in slavery. Let's go to Zechariah 14. Okay, let's go to Zechariah chapter 14 through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right, Salakia. Now, this is Zechariah chapter 14 and verse number 12. Let's read 11 or 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. So you see how all of the precepts link up? Zechariah 12 said he's going to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. Zechariah 14 says, here how it's going to play out. We read in Revelation 20 that they're going to come past the camp of the saints round about. And the fire from the Most High is going to come down. But it's a physical description being mentioned in Zechariah 14 and 12. Let's read it from the top. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. They're going to melt. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them. And they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. So they're going to turn one against another. The Lord's going to use the nations to turn one against another. That's also in Ezekiel, I believe that's 38, right? Where the Lord's going to turn them one against another. Let's see, Ezekiel 38. And bear with me. I don't plan on going into, I believe that's 30, maybe 39, right? I'll have to find it. Where the Lord is going to turn them one against another. Okay. All right, bear with me. If not, I'll have to go back and find it. Like I said, I didn't plan on going too deep into that. All right. I know it's got to be in 38. Okay, bear with me. Ezekiel 38 and here it is, Salakia 21. Ezekiel 38 and 21. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. So when the Lord destroys them, he's also going to turn them one against another. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, the overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. So he's going to turn them one against another and destroy them by fire, right? Zechariah 14 and verse number 13 again. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them. They shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. We just read that in Ezekiel 38. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. So this links up with Ezekiel 39. We're going to rob them that robbed us and spoil them that spoiled us. So once we rob and take them, we're going to take all their wealth together. Now, wherever we put that, it's not specified what we physically do with that wealth, but it's going to be a lot of wealth that we rob. Right? We coming up. And we're not going after physical money. We don't want paper money. We're looking for diamonds, gold. They got vaults of gold and vaults of silver and diamonds and rubies and chrysoprasus and emeralds and amethysts and all these stones. And we coming for it. We're going to know exactly where it's at through spiritual power, and we're going to take it. And if you get in our way, you're going to be killed or you're going to be put into slavery. Let's get that in Psalms 149. Okay, this is Psalms chapter 149 and verse number 6. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise you, the Lord. So we're going to be binding them up in chains, putting them in fetters of iron, rounding them up, traveling throughout different parts of the earth and rounding up the heathen. And we're going to put them in prisons, right? We're going to put them in prisons. Let's get the classic in Jeremiah 30 and 16. Jeremiah chapter 30 and 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So if you came up against us, it doesn't matter if you're a baby, and a baby's going to get dashed in the stones. Right? It doesn't matter if you are a old man. It doesn't matter. The laws of war determine how things play out. And often we would kill all the men with the edge of the sword. And any woman that wasn't a virgin, they were killed. The young virgins were spoils of war and distributed to the men of the Most High. Right? And the other young boys, if they weren't killed, they were raised up, proselytized, and put into slavery to be hewers of wood and drawers of water. So those dynamics of war are going to play out all over again. And they're going to be devoured. Now, let's go to Isaiah 24. Here's what's going to happen. Isaiah chapter 24 and 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. All these elites, we're going to have to get them out of these underground bunkers, military bases. They call them DOMs, deep underground military bases, underground cities, so-called cities in the firmament. They got underwater. Going to find them and bring them up. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So we're going to have prisons, right, for them to be in. Let's go into this word prison. And we're going to keep them in those prisons for a certain period of time. They're going to be allowed to survive. We're going to put them in there for a period of time until it's time to bring them back to the land of Israel on a trail of tears. They're going to go through what we went through, a trail of tears, a chain gang. So here's the word prisons in the Hebrew, right? It reads a shutting up, locksmith, smith, dungeon, enclosure, builder of bulwarks, locksmith, a dungeon. So they're going to be shut up into these dungeons, these prisons, all these heathen. And there's going to be different prisons, right? Just like we had different, in the ancient world, we had different garrisons that were set up, right? And towers to watch the people and make sure that they was in order. So we're going to have that throughout these different parts of the earth where we begin to round up and bind up the heathen, right? Now, once that's done, let's go back to Zechariah, the 12th chapter, right? Once that's done, we have destroyed the nations that tried to destroy us. We robbed them. We bring the wealth back, right? The nations are subjugated. They're in slavery. They're in prisons, etc. Let's go to Zechariah 12. Zechariah chapter 12 and 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. So then this is where we're going to have to deal directly with the Lord, right? And we're going to see Yahweh Shai. Right? Remember, he came down from the mount. We were given a green light to take these other nations down. Then we're going to come back to the Lord, and the Lord is going to establish the order and the structure amongst the elect. Then we're going to have to go get the other nations out of the prisons, and then once the order is established, we're going to bring them back to the land, and we're going to make them begin to build the kingdom of heaven. But everything has to be done in its proper order, right? So we're going to be mourning, right? We subdued the nation, we turned up, we rejoiced. Now it's time to get serious. Now it's time for us to understand who's who. Okay, these are the 12 apostles. Okay, you're going to be in charge of the slaves over here. You're going to be set up to do this. Everybody's going to be put in their order, and we're going to mourn when we see our Lord Yahweh Shai. You know, Jacob's going to have their head down. I'm not worthy. You know, I can't believe Lord, you allowed me to do this, that I'm here, etc. And that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadramon and the valley of Megiddo. So when Josiah died, there was a great mourning, and this is going to be a great, great mourning in those days, right? When we see Yahweh Shai. Now, where is this going to be at? This is going to be in the land of Israel. That's what it says in Jerusalem, right? And that second wilderness is going to be in a desolate land of Israel, right? That land is going to look after World War III. It's going to be, let me pull this up, desert land. It's going to be a desert land, a wasteland, right? You may have old, remaining bodies that still have to get buried, and old weapons, and it's going to be a wasteland. Now, is it exactly going to look like this verbatim? No, I'm just showing you, a picture of a wasteland. Let's pull up a wasteland after war, right? See if they got that. So this is like a wasteland. Now, the buildings are going to be toppled and destroyed, but it's going to be something along those lines. Like what you see after, something like this, right? After global war, right? Because again, the kingdom of heaven is not going to fall out the sky. It has to get built up brick by brick, stone by stone, gem by gem, ruby by ruby. When you read about the different stones that are going to be used to build the kingdom of heaven, those things aren't going to rain out the sky. So there's an order of events that have to happen, right? And it's going to start with us looking at Yahweh Shai and him putting things in its proper order, fulfilling prophecy. This is Isaiah chapter 9 and verse number 6. There's a part I want in this verse. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. So he's going to have to establish a government. It was prophesied that he would bear the government. He would be the foundation of a future government in the earth. Let's go to Ezekiel 20, right? And 33. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and 33. As I live, saith Yahweh, surely with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you. So the Lord's going to, in this second wilderness, as the Lord puts people in their proper order, it's going to be very strict, very rigorous, right? And I will bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. So we're going to see Yahweh Shai face to face. When he pleads with us, it's going to be a get down or lay down kind of deal. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord God. Right? So he's going to establish order. In the wilderness, the Most High put order out there. Remember, there is going to be the rebuilding of a nation. If you want to know how things played out in the first wilderness, go back and read. The Lord established the heads of tribes, elders, princes of the different tribes. All that has to happen again. It's not just a bunch of wild Israelites running around with the Edomite in slavery. The fundamental principles that establish a nation have to be reinforced to us. Who's doing what? Who's the head of the tribe of Judah? Who's going to be in this land? Who's responsible for the slaves over here? Right? Who's going to be in the priest? Who's going to be the Levite? Who's going to be this man? Who's going to be the porters of the gates? That's the Lord pleading with us and us getting stuff in order. And the chariots are going to be there. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 4. Quick precept on this. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 4 and verse number 3. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord of hosts, it's like when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. So Yahweh Shah, through war, is going to cleanse the earth. He's going to purify the people. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon her assemblies a cloud and a smoke by day, and a shining of a flaming fire by night, for upon all the glory shall be a defense. Now, this is reminiscent to the first wilderness. There was a huge chariot in the first wilderness, right? It was a light or fire by night and a pillar by day. And that second wilderness is going to be the same thing, but there's going to be multiple clouds. It says upon every dwelling place. However, the Lord sets us up in that second wilderness, because we're going to have the place to sleep, lay our head, get up. It's going to be a process. How long is it going to take? Nobody knows, right? It doesn't say how long that process of getting us in order is going to take. But we're going to have spiritual bodies. But we know you're not going to have Israelites that take 50 years to get it, right? We're going to have spiritual bodies. And eventually the Lord is going to finalize that new covenant and bring us to the bond of that new covenant. So the laws are going to be in our inward parts. So we're going to be out there dwelling. The chariots are going to be out there. And day by day, however long it takes, right? Yahweh Shah is going to be putting us in order. Okay? Going back to this. Ezekiel chapter 20 and 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. So that's when the laws are in your inward parts. Okay? And you don't sin anymore. You're not going to go off. Right? Your body is completely perfected. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. So there's going to be a purging too, like the first wilderness. Everybody else that remains, they're going to have the laws in their inward parts, and they're going to be given their particular family or their responsibility and who's who. And okay, that's Peter, John, James. They're going to be on the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. All that is going to be playing out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shah. Again, it's going to take time for us to build up a nation. It's going to take time for us to build up as a nation. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. Right? Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse number 24. Let's read this. Ezekiel 36 and 24. For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Because that's what the second wilderness is going to be. It's going to be in our land, but the land is going to be a wilderness. It's going to be destitute. And it's going to take time for that land to have the spirit of the Most High poured on it and for it to be brought back to its first estate. And I'm going to show that in Ezekiel, in the same chapter, actually, that it's going to take time. Verse number 25. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean. From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. So the Lord's going to spiritually cleanse us, put us in that new covenant, and we're going to be perfect. We're going to be perfect. That's that cleansing. The final cleansing is going to take place when that new covenant is finally established. And we aren't going to be able to teach every man his neighbor, saying know the Lord. So everybody's going to know the Most High once the Lord removes idols out of our mind, sin out of our mind, wickedness out of our mind, lust away from us. That's that sprinkling that the Most High is going to do. That's that fountain you read about in Zechariah chapter 13. Let me get that. That fountain of cleansing. Zechariah chapter 13 and verse number 1. And that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. So the Most High is going to put that spirit in the earth to remove any filthiness, any pollution in your mind, that natural man, the carnal man, and how your body's composed to have sin that's embedded in you from Adam. He's going to pluck that sin out. That grain of evil seed is going to pluck that out and re-alter your spiritual makeup, right? Through the cleansing. Let's read on. Ezekiel 36 and 26. A new heart also will I give you. So that's the new mind. Not the mind that has sin inside of it, but a spiritual mind. And a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. So he's going to give us a spiritual mind to be perfect. We're not going to buck up. We're not going to rebel. We're not going to do our own thing. We're going to follow the Most High wherever he goes. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. As part of being brought under that covenant. And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your God. I will also save you from all your uncleanness, and I will call for the corn, and will increase it, and lay no famine upon you. So he's going to put a spirit in that land, right? For crops and vegetation to grow, and the trees to bud, and grass to come up out the earth, and flowers and butterflies and bees, and he's going to turn it back to the Garden of Eden. We're going to read that. And I will multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that ye shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen. Then shall ye remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations. Right, we read that in Zechariah 12 and 10. We're going to mourn for our evil ways. Not for your sakes do I this, saith Yahweh, Ba'ashmi Yahushai. Be it known unto you. Be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord God. Here's the point. And the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. Are we going to build up the waste? No. Who's going to build up the waste? Once we go through that second wilderness and we're cleansed, then the waste are going to be builded and the cities are going to be builded. So at that time, we're going to go back to those prisons, those garrisons we set up, take those nations out of those prisons and bring them back to the land of Israel. and they're going to begin to build the cities and build the ways. We're not building a damn thing in the kingdom of heaven. They're going to do the building. How do you know that? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 61. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 61 and verse number 4. And they, meaning the heathen, shall build the old waste. It says we're going to do it, but we're going to use the heathen to do it. They shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities and the desolations of many generations. So this links up with what we just read in Ezekiel 36, that once we're cleansed, those old wastes and cities are going to get built. Same thing in Isaiah 61 and 4, the waste cities, the former desolations, the old waste. It's all going to get built, right? Let's go to Micah 7. So the precepts, they all back each other up. Same thing, Ezekiel 36 and 33, same thing as Isaiah 61 and 4. Let's go to Micah chapter 7. Let's get another precept. Micah chapter 7 and verse 11. And the day that thy walls are to be built, and that day shall the decree be far removed. Right? So that day is when that commission, that great project is going to start. And the decree being far removed is us being under these curses, us being put in slavery, and us going through death and affliction. That's going to be far removed from us. And the day that our walls are going to begin to be built. And that day also, he shall come even to thee from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. That's when Yahweh is done destroying the nations, right? America, the fortified cities, NATO, and military bases, etc. Here's the point I want. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. So the whole land, like we read, is going to be desolate. It's going to be a wasteland. But once we get those other nations, they're going to start building up the kingdom of heaven. So as you can clearly see, there's a sequence of events that have to happen. Because we're not just going to come out the chariot and then the kingdom of heaven's already built. There's a process of things that must transpire. Now, let's go to Tobit, chapter 13. So they're going to have to build the old waste. They're going to have to build up those cities. And it's going to be a lot of cities, man. Think about it. It's going to be a lot of cities. This is the desolate land. This is how the land is going to be. When we get those other nations back, they're going to plant. The Most High is going to prosper their hand. They're going to build, and they're going to turn this back to the Garden of Eden. Right? They're going to turn this back to the Garden of Eden. I'm going to read that. Ezekiel 36 and 34. And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. So it's going to be tilled. They're going to till our land. They're going to feed our cattle. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. And the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and inhabited. So it's going to be a desolate land, but the outcome, the end game, is it's going to look like the Garden of Eden. There's going to be walls, and the cities are going to get built. That's what's going to happen. Here's the wasteland, but the nations are going to build, and they're going to build up the walls, plant the trees, till the ground, and eventually it's going to go from this. Now, it's going to be hard to find a picture of the Garden of Eden. You know what? Well, let's see what they got. Let's see what they got. If we type in the Garden of Eden. I don't want to see no so-called white man with no clothes on, man. Right? Let me pull this up. See if we get paradise. See if we get something. Right? So they're going to build it up. This is the best I'll get right now, but it's going to go from a desolate land. It's going to turn to this. 10 times better than that, 1,000 times. But that's just a visual so you can understand. Now, let's go to Tobit chapter 13 to explain furthermore how this thing is actually going to go down. This is Tobit chapter 13 and verse number 15. Let my soul bless the Most High, the great King. For Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stone. Thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. So Jerusalem ain't going to be concrete. It's not going to look how these so-called white man buildings look that people are fascinated by. Their mansions, their condos are trash, garbage compared to how we going to live. I don't see no sapphires in the so-called white man kingdom. I don't see any emeralds. On his wall, he doesn't even have walls. He got a toll booth. You travel from one part of the city to another, you got to pay a damn toll, man. He doesn't have battlements. So guess what? Why am I bringing this verse out? If Jerusalem is going to be built up with emeralds and sapphires and precious stones and gold, where do you find that at? You find it in the earth, deep in the earth. So the nations, we're going to know where those elements are. And we're going to send them to those different parts. They're going to mine and gather up all those stones and gather up the emeralds and gather up the precious stones. And we're going to have men that orchestrate and direct them to put that stone here. No, put that emerald there. We can't think or understand that the heathen are going to build it according to their own mind. They'll make it look like New York City. You leave it up to them. So we have to show them exactly what's going to go where, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Let me get a quick precept. Let's go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter. We're going to know where all those elements are. This is Genesis chapter 2 and verse number 11. Quick precept. The name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. So that Red Sea surrounds that whole peninsula, and there's a lot of gold there. How do we know that? Because the Most High told Moses, and that land, there's gold. So we might send them to the whole land of Havilah. Solomon sent his servants by coursing to the mountains, and they're going to have to get that gold. Rather we send them to Havilah or Ophir or wherever we send them to get the gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. So we're going to need the onyx stones, bdellium. There are parts of the earth that have these resources that we're going to have to get for them to build the kingdom of heaven. But they're going to have to get it, right? They're going to have to get it. Let's go back to Tobit. Tobit chapter 13 and 17. And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. So we're going to have to get all of these stones. They're going to have to mine them and gather them out of the earth. Solomon did that. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 9 and 15. Solomon did do that. 1 Kings 9 and 15. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised for to build the house of the Lord. So we're going to have to raise a levy to build the house of the Lord, the temple, the walls, the cities. And the levy is essentially putting people in slavery. I'll just leave it like that. You're going to have to enslave people to build the house of the Lord and your own house and Milo and the wall of Jerusalem and Hazor and Megiddo and Gezer. We're going to have to raise a levy. What is a levy? Right? A levy, I mean, all these are good. It's really putting people in slavery. A mandatory charge such as tax, duty, fine, or fee imposed by an authority. Right? It's really put them in slavery. That's what it's going into. Right? We're going to put them in slavery to build. See if it says that in the blue letter. Okay. All right, check this out. A gang or body of forced laborers, task workers, labor band or gang, forced service, task work, serfdom, tributary, tribute, levy, taskmasters, discomfited, forced service, serfdom, tribute, and forced payment, labor band, labor gang, slave gang, gang overseers. Slave gang. I like that. So Solomon had a slave gang to build the house of the Lord and the walls and his own house. There's no new thing under the sun. I'll say it for the seventh time. The kingdom of heaven is not going to just, right? It's not just going to materialize out of thin air. We're going to have to raise a levy. It's going to have to go down. Now they can say, well, I don't like that. Why'd you raise the levy? Y'all can't do it yourself. No, we're not doing it ourselves, man. The hell these heathen think they are, man. Now let's see. 1 Kings 9:20. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel. So if you ain't an Israelite, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able to utterly destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute, a bond service until this day. So there's no new thing under the sun. All the people that wasn't Israelites, if you were still alive, Solomon put you in slavery. That was his wisdom. If you're not an Israelite, I'm putting you in slavery, and you're going to build up the walls. You're going to build up the house. That's what's going to happen. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen. We ain't going to be no slaves. But they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen. Those are different offices. In the kingdom, you might be a captain over 10,000. I mean, that's a mighty title right there, man. Everybody want to be the 12. There's other offices. Everybody's not going to be one of the 12. Everybody ain't Paul. Everybody's not Nehemiah. You might be a captain in the heavenly army of Yahushua. You might be a prince over the tribe of Ephraim. You might be the brother in the kingdom over all of the chariots. You controlled all of the chariots. That's your lot. You might be in charge of all of the military. So, brothers, you're going to have some offices, man. You ain't going to be flipping no damn patties, man, at Wendy's. You ain't going to be in no Amazon. There's not going to be an Amazon or a Walmart or a Home Depot in the kingdom of heaven. And you're going to enjoy your office. See, now you got to dread going to work. You wake up, you're sitting on the edge of the bed for 20 minutes thinking about bills. And if you could call out today, wow, I don't have enough time. So maybe I can't call out. It's cold outside. I got to start the car. I got to really go to work. I got to get this money. You're sitting on the edge of the bed for 30 minutes trying to figure this thing out. In the kingdom, you're not going to do that, man. You're going to love your office. So I'm going to go to 1 Kings 5. There's a part I want. All right. So they're going to have to get this gold that Tobit talked about. They're going to have to get this Ophir that Tobit talked about. 1 Kings chapter 5 and 13. And King Solomon raised the levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. Now, we're not going to have a levy amongst Israelites. We're going to have a levy amongst heathen, chiefly the Edomites and you other nations. Now, look at this. This was not the kingdom, the heavenly kingdom on earth. This was the regular, the kingdom by King Solomon. He got 30,000 men. So you're going to have hundreds of thousands of heathen in slavery building. Jerusalem was already built at that time. He needed 30,000 men to get stones so he could build the temple and his house and the walls. Now imagine the whole kingdom got to get built. How you just going to have a few people in slavery? Every heathen is going into slavery. We're going to need them to build. There ain't going to be no heathen walking around that's not in slavery. They took 30,000 men to build the wall, get stones and stuff when the city was already built. How much more when there are no cities? I'm not just talking Jerusalem, no cities built. Now, not to be long-winded, it took Solomon 7 years to build the house of the Lord. It took him 7 years to build the temple. So it's going to take time to build up the kingdom. It's not going to be an overnight thing. That's why we have to go through these breakdowns so brothers can really understand the perspective of time when it comes to these events. You're not just going to fall out the chariot and you're in your mansion. It's going to take time for them. Now, the Most High could prosper their hand quick, and they could build quick, but I'm just putting into perspective that it took time for them to physically build. Okay? So let's read on in 1 Kings 5 and 14. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home, and Adoniram was over the levy. So you had a slave master. Adoniram was the chief collector of tribute. He was the top slave master. You might have a brother. You might be over the levy. You might not be on one of the thrones, but you're the chief slave master. You're the chief minister of slavery. I would love that office. If I make it to the kingdom of heaven and I get in there by the skin of my teeth, if there was ever an office that I would want, that I would love and have pleasure on, is the chief minister of the levy. All of the slaves, I check them in, right? You know how to open your mouth, right? Whip them, beat them. Come on. You move them from land to land, put them on a ship. You stuff them in the ship. You tell an Israelite, take the ship over there, right? All day you just moving them in slavery. You kind of drop the eggs, you pin them up and you beat them, you make sure you get right. They put the diamonds where the emerald was going to go instead of where the diamonds are supposed to go. So you hit them upside the head, man. Say, put the diamond where the diamond's supposed to go. They're going to be messing up too. They're going to be clumsy. They're not going to know what's going on. They're going to be scared. So you might be the brother over the levy. 1 Kings 5 and 15. And Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens, and 70,000 hewers in the mountain. So he had 70,000 slaves and 80,000 people in the mountains, digging in the mountains, getting elements out to build. Beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought the work. So you have 3,300 slave masters. Brothers, you're going to be just fine. There's going to be a lot of slave masters. You have 3,300. This was just to build the temple and the walls. Again, imagine the whole land is desolate. It's going to be more than 3,300 slave masters that rule over the people. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house. So they're going to be mining and getting up all the gold, getting up all of the elements, getting up all of the diamonds, all the things that Tobit prophesied of, sapphires and emeralds. They're going to have to mine that and get that. And that is going to take some time. That's going to take time. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 10. Right? Now, again, how long is that going to take? I can't say. I'm not the Most High. When we built the temple, the Lord tells you that it was done in speed. It says the work prospereth and goeth on speedily, paraphrasing, in the days of Zerubbabel. So the Most High could speed it up, or he could really have us enjoy them being in slavery. And it's going to be a lot of building, man. I'm thinking about our mansions, our palaces, the temple, holy things. It's going to take a while, right? Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So they're going to have to build up our walls, right? Same thing in Tobit. It says our walls and towers are going to be of sapphires and emeralds. So we're not going to go get that. They're going to have to go get that, right? They're going to have to go get that. In Isaiah 61, we read they're going to build up the former waste in the cities. Ezekiel 36. Let's go back to Ezekiel 36. What did we read there? Right? Ezekiel 36 and 25. Or it's like Ezekiel 36 and 33. Thus saith Yahweh Bashmi Abishai, and the day that I have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. So they're going to build up those wastes, going to put them in those mountains, put them in those different parts of the earth, and they're going to have to build that up. Now, it might be a dead body here. They might see a dead body over there. If they come across a dead body, the Bible says they're going to have to alert and bury that dead body, because you're still going to have those bodies around, right? Let me get that in Ezekiel 39, right? They might see those dead bodies. They might see a bullet over here or something over here, and there's protocol for that. We have a SOP for them, huh? Right? This is Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse number, let's read that. 39 and 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea. And they shall stop the noses of the passengers. And there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Haman Gog. So all of the armies of the heathen, if there's a dead body, they're going to have to get buried. And 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying them, that they may cleanse the land. So again, even prior to the walls being built, we have to ensure that there are no more dead bodies. We have to ensure that there's no more helmets, there's no more backpacks of bullets, that there are no more tanks. All that stuff has to be burned and buried. And it's going to take 7 months, not literally 7 months, but 7 again is a number of perfection and completion. It's going to take a period of time. Verse number 13, Ezekiel 39 and 13. Yeah, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be glorified, saith Yahweh. Here's the point. And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land, to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth, to cleanse it. And after 7 months shall they search. So what does this mean? It says in Ezekiel 39:14, and they shall sever out men of continual employment. We're going to be the employers. Who's going to be our employees? The Edomites, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Hagarenes, Amalek, Tyre and Zidon, other Canaanite tribes. Ain't going to be no interview. Ain't going to be no Indeed.com. You know, putting in an application. We don't need an application. You're qualified. If you're on the earth, you're going to get the job. See, we're going to do what they don't do for us. Right? We're qualified and we don't get the job. They'll even tell you certain jobs, they'll tell you that you're overqualified. What kind of madness is that? Right? You're overqualified. Every double is going to be qualified. If you're alive, you're going to get the job. You're going to be employed. There will be 100% employment rate in the kingdom of heaven. Hands down. The job market is going to be amazing. And our approval rate, all these damn devils in their terms, our approval rate is going to be 1,000%. Now we're going to employ them and we're going to send them to different parts of the land of Israel in the Middle East. And if they see a dead body, they got to bury that dead body. And they're going to be searching. We're going to give them a shovel, a flashlight, and a damn a book bag. And say, we'll see you in 5 months. David sent Joab to number Israel. He went on a whole journey, man. It took him a long time to do that. So we're going to send him out for 7 months, 8 months. 30 days, go out there, go see if you see a dead body. Ezekiel 39:15. And they better get it done right. And the passengers that pass through the land, when any seeth a man's bone, then shall he set up a sign by it till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Haman Gog. So they're going to have standards and flags. And it's a dead body right here. Dead body. And the Edomites, they're going to run. They're going to look at it. Right? We're going to be over them, making sure they get it right. And they're going to take that body and they're going to be burying that body and that bone. Maybe it's a rib cage. Maybe it's the skull of a Hamite. And also, the name of the city shall be Hamanoah. Thus shall they cleanse the land. So the land is going to be cleansed. And then those cities and the waste are going to be built after the dead bodies and all of the weapons, all of the asphalt, all of the concrete, all of those wicked elements are broken up, buried, and burned. Then they're going to build, right? Then they are going to build through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 14, right? Let's go to Tobit, the 14th chapter. And again, it's going to take time. It's going to be this desolate land. In Ezekiel 36, it tells you it's going to turn to the Garden of Eden. I'm going to read this one more time. Ezekiel 36 and 35. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden, and the waste, Slakia, and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. Right? So we're going to eventually turn to the Garden of Eden. Okay? Now, let's go to Tobit, the 14th chapter. Slakia. I want to go to Tobit, chapter 14, and I want to read verse number, bear with me, so Tobit 14 and 5. This is Tobit, chapter 14 and verse 5. Now, this is Tobit prophesying to Tobias about events that would happen concerning our people. And again, the Most High will have mercy on them and bring them again into the land where they shall build a temple. but not like to the first, until the time of that age be fulfilled. So that's talking about Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Ezra. At that time, they would build the temple. And then it says, until the time of that age be fulfilled, right? That's that time. And afterward, they shall return from all places of their captivity. That's when Yahweh Shah returns. And build up Jerusalem gloriously. And the house of God shall be built in it forever, with a glorious building, as the prophets have spoken thereof. So that links up with how they're going to build. They're going to have to build up the walls, the temple, the cities, like the prophet spoke of, like Isaiah spoke of, right? Like many other prophets spoke of. They're going to have to build up the wall and build up the city. Let's read on. Verse 6. And all nations shall turn and fear the Lord God truly, and shall bury their idols. So they're not just going to be burying weapons and burying, dead bones and things of that nature. They're going to have to get rid of their idols too. We're going to touch on that. And they're going to learn to serve the Most High, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Are they going to get it right on the first time, maybe the second time? No. Are there going to be slip-ups and mistakes and punishments that have to be corrected? Of course. Right? So shall all nations praise the Lord, and his people shall confess the Most High. And the Lord shall exalt his people, and all those which love the Lord God in truth and justice shall rejoice, showing mercy to our brethren. So the heathen eventually, after everything is built, after all things are established, then they're going to learn how to serve the Most High God. They're not, when we come out the chariots, they're not going to know how to serve the Lord. Because they're not going to know what to bring to Jerusalem, when to bring it, how much to bring. They're not going to know any of that. So they might bring a damn unclean thing, dog or this, that, and the third. So we have to go and actually teach the nations. We're going to teach them the laws and the statutes and the commandments. Not only are we going to have to do that, we're going to have to re-establish the boundaries in the earth, because our land is going to be from the Nile River to the Euphrates. The Moabites' land, we're going to have to tell them, Moab, this is going to be your land in time to come. Ham, this is the land that you're going to have. So right now, everybody divided their own lands, but the Most High divided the land. Let me get that in Deuteronomy. He is the original giver of boundaries of land. So we're going to have to do that too. And man, these heathen, man, they're going to remove the landmark. I'm getting mad thinking about it. They're going to say, well, I know that's not enough land. We don't want to hear none of that. We don't want to hear that. Is it really that much land? Can I go that far? These heathen, man, they're not intelligent. They're not. I don't care what these Moabites say about math and these they don't have any spiritual common sense or understanding. They're not thinkers. They're doers. They just do things. We are a people of judgment and discernment. So we're going to have to get them right, man. Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So the bounds of the people are your boundaries of your land, right? How close are you to the sea? How many kilometers is this land? Are you this many miles wide? We're going to reestablish the boundaries of the lands as well. And that's also going to take time for the nations to learn. Here's where you can pass. If you're a Moabite, we bet not see you in the land of Edom. Right? If you're a Hamite, we bet not see you in the land of the Japhites. All that has to be done too. Obadiah verse 19. And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines. So we're going to have to take over those 5 cities: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, etc. Gath. We're going to have to take over those 5 cities. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. So now Benjamin, he's going to take Gilead. So people's lands are going to switch and be enlarged because our overall boundaries are going to be enlarged. Remember, our true boundaries are what? Here it is on the map. From the Nile River to the river Euphrates. So you're not just going to be in this little land as a Benjamite. The Most High is going to enhance our boundaries of the tribes. And we're going to have to be taught that. And all of the other nations, they're going to be moved. Because formerly Moab was over here. Edom was south and Ammon was here. No, they're going to be moved to different parts of the earth. So Obadiah is showing you the displacement of the nations, chiefly Esau rather, and how we're going to take their land. Okay, they're going to be displaced. They're going to go through a trail of tears. We're going to move them in chains to their new land and say, you can't go this far. Okay, you can go this far. Right? We're going to have to show them all these things. It's not a matter of us, again, just coming out the chariot and the heathen got salvation and they're just traveling from land to land. And none of that is biblical. So we have to go through the sequence of events so you can really put this into perspective, how this is going to play out. Right? Obadiah verse 20. And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south. So your family might have this land. My family might be given this land. We're going to have the landmarks set up. Okay, this is your land. Okay, here's your land. All right, Edom, this is your land. The tribe of Moab, you get this land. All these things have to be done, right? All these things have to be done by the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Awashah. Now, another step that has to be done before the nations can come to Jerusalem and offer gifts and bring sacrifices and bring the forces of the Gentiles is they have to be taught the law, because they have to be taught how to show up to Jerusalem. What we have to show them what you can wear, what's permissible. We have to change their names. We're going to have to change their names. They're going to have to get circumcised. They're going to have to learn the law. We're going to have to teach before they can even think they can come to Jerusalem. We have to ensure that they are competent in the law of God. Right? They might be trying to get tribal marks, and you can't get no tribal mark. When you come to Jerusalem, dress like this. Come at this time. Bring this much ephah of this many omers of this many baths of oil. You can take this animal, don't bring that animal. They have to be taught all of that because they don't know it. How would they know? Right? Let's go to Zechariah, the 14th chapter. So while they're building, we're going to show them the law, but also we're going to have men teaching these heathen different laws and commandments, and that's another beautiful job, to be traveling and teaching the nations the laws and the commandments. This is Zechariah chapter 14 and verse number 8. And this shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea, and summer and in winter shall it be. So throughout the year, you're going to have the laws of the Most High being taught to these heathen, right? The former sea and the hinder sea represent different nations. The sea represents the nations. It tells you that in Revelation 17 to 15, Isaiah 17:13 on down, Isaiah 59:19 on down, Psalms 144:6 on down. The nations are waters. And the living water, which is the truth, is going to have to go down into the sea. And they're going to learn the laws of the Most High God. And if they buck up, they're going to get beat to death or killed. How we teach is going to be taught with a rod of iron. Let's get that in Revelation 2. We're going to rule over the nations with a rod of iron. Revelation chapter 2 and verse number 27. And he showed, 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So the rod of iron is a zero tolerance policy, the strictness of the laws of the Most High. See, in Psalms 23, it says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. A shepherd does not take a rod of iron to discipline a sheep when he goes astray. He takes an actual wooden rod and lightly hits the sheep or hooks them back in with his shepherd staff to put them on the right path. That's the rod that we feel from Yahweh, Bashmi Awashah. And it's enough for us to understand. We're not going to rule the nations the same way the Lord rules us. We're going to have a rod of iron, not a rod of wood, but a rod of iron, harsh discipline for disobedience, painful discipline, unmerciful discipline for disobedience. Right? That's what it comes down to. So when these nations are being taught the law, if they slip up, it's over. Right? And they're going to have to be assimilated. Huh? When you look at check this out. We assimilated. When they assimilated the so-called Native Americans, man, they made them cut their hair. Look at this. Made him get rid of his garments. Made him dress like them. We're going to do that to the so-called white man. They're going to be assimilated. They're going to have to grow their beard out. They're going to have to wear what we tell them to wear. Right? We don't want to see no tribal marks. We don't want to see you eating unclean food. There's going to be a lot of resistance. Anytime that you conquer a nation and they have to be assimilated to your culture and your laws, it's naturally met with resistance. So there's always a little level of bucking up. This is what they did to our brothers, man. Look at this, man. Right? This is a damn shame. How they assimilated. Look at this. Let me see if I can zoom in. The tribe of Gad, man. Got them looking like Edomites. But that's okay, man. Right? That's okay. Those are 3 Lakota boys. Carlisle Indian Industrial School. So they went to a reformatory school. And they had to forget everything that they ever knew. And they were beat if they didn't get right. So guess what we're going to do to the so-called white man? What do you think we're going to do to the Moabite man? To the Hamite man? Even in Daniel, the first chapter, they assimilated Daniel and made him learn the language of the heathen and taught them science and taught them their understanding and the ways of the magicians and all that madness, man. They had to go through that. Eat of the king's meat, had to drink his wine, and it was complete chaos. So we're going to have to do that to you heathen. We're going to beat you with a rod of iron. Straight up. Let's go to Ezekiel 47. All right. So you're going to have to be taught the law. You're going to have to be taught the law through the Spirit of God. This is going to be a major proselytizing. Right? A major proselytizing of the heathen. What does it mean to proselytize? To convert. A forced conversion. Right? A forced conversion. This is Ezekiel chapter 47 and verse 7. Now when I have returned, behold, at the bank of the river were very many trees on the one side and on the other. So Ezekiel 47 and 7 links up with Revelation, the 22nd chapter. Let's go to Revelation 22 about this river and the trees. This is Revelation chapter 22 and verse 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb. So that pure river is the living water. It's going to be embedded in the minds of the elect that comes directly from Yahweh Basham Yahushua through his spirit. And with that living water, we're going to issue that water out to the different seas. Because right now, if you have ears to hear, the sea is polluted. The sea is tainted. The sea is corrupted. And we have to pour in clean water to get rid of all of the filth. The sea is the other nations. We have to give them knowledge to get rid of their filth. Verse number 2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. So we're going to have the fruit of the tree of life that yields immortality. It's constant knowledge and wisdom and righteousness that we're going to abound from Yahweh Basham Yahushua. Yielding her fruit every month is, spiritually speaking, about consistent, right? Knowledge and understanding and wisdom being given to the elect. Actual trees don't yield fruit every month. They're seasonal. Apples grow at a certain season. Oranges grow at a certain season. Pears come in kind of, late summertime. Certain trees yield their fruit once a month or once every 3 months. This tree is not an actual tree because this tree yields fruit every month. The infinite knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. For every month of the year, we're going to be inspired by the Holy Spirit 24/7. The leaves of the tree, which represents the understanding, is to heal the other nations. So yes, the other nations are going to be healed by accepting the understanding of the Israelites. Your leaf represents your understanding. Your fruit represents your works. Let's get this quick precept for your leaf. All right, let's go to Jeremiah 17 and 8. Okay, Jeremiah chapter 17 and 8. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. So men are likened unto trees. Yahushua healed the man in Mark the 8th chapter, and 22 through 24. And the man said, behold, I see men as trees walking. So if your leaf is always green, it means your understanding will never fail. No matter what affliction or drought or turmoil that you encounter, your understanding will remain intact. So the leaf of the tree is the understanding from the Most High that's going to be given to us to teach the other nations the dietary law. Here's what you have to wear. Here's how you deal with your son. Here's how you do this. Here's the Sabbath day. This is the new moon. We're going to have to show them, look, this is the new moon right here. Right? You can't see it. It's dark. Okay, that's the full moon. Right? Okay, this is the Feast of Tabernacles. Here's what the Feast of Tabernacles is about. See, Zechariah 14 says if they don't come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But before that, they have to know what it is, how to keep it, when to come, what to do, what to bring, how much to bring. They're going to have to know all of that. And that's going to come from the understanding of the Israelites. So let's go back to Ezekiel 47. So this is going to be a massive proselytizing that's going to happen. Okay? When the city's built, the walls are built, and the nations are done, we're going to have to teach them the laws of the Most High. We're going to put them in their land. You're still going to have your slaves doing your thing. We're going to put the other nations in their respective land. Tell them what their boundaries are. We're going to send men to them to teach them the laws of the Most High. So when they do come to Jerusalem, they understand exactly what to do. And that's going to be done after those 1,000 years. And I'm going to get that in Jeremiah, in the latter chapters of Jeremiah. So this is Ezekiel chapter 47 and verse number 8. Right? Ezekiel 47 and 8. Then said he unto me, these waters issue out toward the east country, and go down into the desert, and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea, the waters shall be healed. So that living water is going to hit the east country first. Who's the east country? The east country is the land of Israel. So if we're part of the elect, we're going to get that living water first. There's a hierarchy and a priority when it comes to who gets the knowledge of God. And it's always going to come to us first. And it's happening right now. Right? Unto the Jew first. So we're going to get we're the east country. We're going to get the living water first. Then it's going to go to the desert. The desert represents today our people who don't know the truth. And they're going to turn from a desert, they're going to turn to living water, or to standing water. Tell that in Isaiah. Let me get that real quick. The Lord's going to break open a flood. I believe that's Isaiah the 40th chapter. Okay, Isaiah chapter 40. Let's get that. I want this. Isaiah 40, maybe 41, Salaki. So bear with me. Right? Let's get this. Isaiah 41 and verse number 18. I will open rivers in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land springs of water. So the Lord, we represent a wilderness, but we're going to be turned to a pool of water, right? I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shitsa tree, and the myrtle and the oil tree. I will set in the desert the fir tree and the pine and the box together. Remember Isaiah 61, we're called trees of righteousness. So the desert represents our people. And the elect men are going to be planted as trees of righteousness. That's the myrtle, the oil, the cedar, and the shitsa tree. Get that in Isaiah 61 and 3. Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 3. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. So in Ezekiel 47, we represent that desert that's going to turn into a standing water with trees of righteousness. Once we get that understanding, it's going to go down into the sea. Once the living water hits these other nations, those waters are going to be healed. How do you know that this represents the other nations? We just read it in Revelation chapter 22. The Lord said that the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. And Ezekiel 47, it says, when the waters hit the sea, the waters are going to be healed. Let's get a precept for the waters being the nations. Revelation 17 to 15. So this is a process, is a major proselytizing that has to happen. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 15. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So the waters being healed are the people. Think about it, man. If you have a pool of dirty water, the more clean water you pour in that, the more that dirty water comes out and is replaced by clean water, right? If you constantly pour gallons and gallons into dirty water, it's only a matter of time before that water is cleansed. The dirty water is replaced by the clean water. So the nations are filthy right now. They're polluted. But once that living water hit, the waters are going to be healed because they're going to learn the laws of the Most High. When to keep the Sabbath, when is the Feast of Tabernacles, what is a new moon, right? What is this day about? What is that day about? That's a blood moon right there. Don't worship that. That constellation, you can't bow down to that. That, put those fringes on. Grow your beard out. Hey, don't eat that. Don't touch that. Hey, your woman, she's on her flower. She's put apart for these many days. No, don't touch that. That's unclean. That's a minstrel. So we're going to have to show them all that stuff, man. And that, man, that's going to take time. That is also going to take time for all these heathen to learn all these laws, all these statutes, and all these commandments. And they're going to be messing up. Some of them are going to be bucking up, man. You might catch a Moabite with a damn dog. You know? You got to say, well, Moab, what the hell are you doing, man? And he going to say what he want to say. But if you catch him going the hell off, about to eat that dog, and you're going to have to beat him. Moabites drinking blood. You might say an Edomite trying to get with another Edomite, man. Homosexuality. See, they're not going to have the laws in their inward parts. So they're going to be going to hell off. I mean, look at us. We go off. And we the people of the Lord. We got the spirit to serve the Lord, and we go off. We do heinous things. You think these heathen are going to be angels? Now, the fear of the Lord is going to fall upon them. And eventually they're going to get right, but it's going to take some time. It's going to be a lot of death, a lot of beatings, a lot of people made an example of. You might be turning around and the Edomite pick up a damn stone like you're going to throw it at you, but you turn around, he kind of put it behind his back. And you shut the whole work plantation down to make an example out of him. You gather everybody about, and everybody see, you ask them, what the hell is that behind your back? I don't got nothing behind my back. What is that behind your back? And remember, everybody watching. So you walk up to him, he dropped the stone, he running away. You know? You go get him. Spiritual power, you make him stop, you bring him back to you. The heathen, oh my God. People gonna be made an example of, man. I'm telling you. Now you can say what scripture, you can say what scripture is that? Well, hold on, the Lord said there's no new thing under the sun. Right? That which has been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Most High required that which is past. So it's going to take time. The Lord said in Isaiah, let me get this. Right? Isaiah 60 and 12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So if you don't want to serve the Israelites, you're going to be put to death and made an example of. Let's go back to Ezekiel 47. So the waters are going to be healed. They're going to have to learn the laws and the commandments. Verse number 9 in Ezekiel 47. And it shall come to pass that everything that liveth, which moveth, whithersoever the river shall come, shall live. So all of the creatures in the waters are going to live. And there should be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come thither. For they shall be healed, and everything shall live whither the river cometh. So this is a dark saying. It's not literally talking about fish and literal water. The waters are the nations. We read that earlier. So what's the fish? Well, a good sign of healthy water is fish. A good sign of life in water is fish. So the great multitude of fish being found in the waters represents the nations keeping the commandments. Just like a fruit. Fruit is a sign of a man's works. The fish is a sign of life inside of the water. right? So you're going to see the fruit of the increase, or rather, you're going to see the fish, which is a sign that the waters are healed. There should be a clear indicator that the waters are healed. You're going to see it based off of the nations keeping the commandments. All right. Verse number 10. And it shall come to pass that the fishers shall stand upon it from Engedi even unto any gleam. They shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kinds, as the fish of the great sea, exceeding many. So these fishers aren't literal. The fishers represent the elect Israelites, making sure that the nations are keeping the commandments. Because they stand upon it, they have dominion over the waters. And it's their job to look at the fish and to make sure that the waters are producing fish. The same way that a husbandman is in a vineyard and he looks at the tree and he makes sure that the tree is bringing forth fruit. And if he doesn't, he'll give it time, then he'll cut it down. So the fishers represent the men of the Most High. Even Yahweh Shah said, I will make you fishers of men. They're going to stand upon the waters. They're going to spread forth their nets to look at the fish, to see who's keeping the law, who's not, who's actually still alive, what waters are still alive, what waters need to be healed, who's going to hell off. So the men of the Lord are going to be judging the earth. Let's get that in Psalms 82. So it's a dark saying about the elect judging the other nations to ensure that they are abiding by the laws of the Most High. Psalms chapter 82 and verse number 8. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. So you're going to judge the earth. You're going to inherit those nations. You're going to have to make sure that they're complicit with the laws of the Most High, that they can comprehend what they should be doing. Those are the fishers. That's a mighty job right there. Right? That's a mighty job. If you're one of those fishers in the kingdom, you're set up to make sure the nations are in order. But it's a dark saying. You read this like a white man, you might think that it's actual fish with actual water and actual fishes, and it's different kind of fish, or that's a rainbow fish, that's a goldfish. Oh, look, that's a blue fish, one fish, two fish. No, it's not talking about that. It's a dark saying, again, about the elect ensuring that the nations are abiding by the commandments. So let's read on. Ezekiel 47 and 11. But the miry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed. They shall be given to salt. So there's one type of nation that will never be healed. They'll be given to salt. Salt, when you plant salt in the soil, there's no more growth. There's no fruit. There's a nation that will never be able to keep the commandments. There's a nation that will never show forth a sign that they are being healed, that they can keep the commandments. Who do you think this is? Who? All the other waters are healed except this place, the miry place. The Lord said they will never be healed. All the understanding of God, they won't accept. All they do is break the law, cause confusion and disruption. But all the other waters are healed except the miry places and the marshes. All right, who are the miry places and the marshes? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 57. This is Isaiah chapter 57 and verse number 20. But the wicked are like the troubled sea. See that? They're the waters. When it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. That's the miry places. That's the marshes. Who is that talking about? The wicked. It can't rest. It can never be healed. The Edomite is never going to be able to keep the law. For you to think that an Edomite can repent is contrary to all prophecy. For them to show forth signs of favor and righteousness, they weren't created to keep the commandments. They're created to be the devil. It can never rest. They can't even literally rest unless they cause some to fall. It tells you that in Proverbs, the 4th chapter. So they cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked. So that's the miry places and the marshes. That is the wicked. Those are the Edomites, and they'll never be healed because they are set up to be destroyed by God. Jeremiah, Slakia, I was thinking of a precept in Jeremiah, right? So that's what that's talking about. That's the massive proselytization of the nations, right? Let's put that word up, proselytize. Proselytize. To convert or attempt to convert someone from one religion, belief, or opinion to another. So there's going to be a massive conversion going on, right? It's going to happen while the nations are building. We're going to show them little things. But once the boundaries of the lands are set up and they're in their own land, we're going to send teachers and men out there to teach them the law and let them know once we're confident that they can keep the law, then they'll be allowed to come to Jerusalem and bring the right thing and bring the right quantity and the right weight and clean animals or things that we need. They're not going to be able to just know it on their own. They're not going to wing it. We'd be damned if we let a Moabite wing what they could bring to the temple. They'll try to bring dog meat, man. Cat meat. Some wickedness, some wicked sacrifice. So we're going to have men out there making sure they are in order so they know what to do and when to do it. They're not just going to be freely walking around. And we're going to put garrisons in their land because that's what our fathers did. I believe that's 1 Samuel, the 18th chapter. I mean, the 8th chapter. It's like a 2 Samuel 8. Okay. This 2 Samuel chapter 8. And this is a beautiful chapter, man. David subdued all these people and he brought gifts, right? Now this is 2 Samuel chapter 8, and here's what I want. Verse 14. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants, and the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. So David put garrisons in Edom. What is a garrison? A garrison is a military post, right? Something placed, a pillar, a prefect, a post, a deputy. It's pretty much a military post or a military base. And you have men that control that military base, like the so-called white man does. That's where he gets it from. He'll put a military base in Afghanistan, and you have soldiers out there patrolling the Afghanis to make sure that they're in order, according to white man laws and democracy. And if you're out of order, he'll come out that military base and blow your brains out and molest your son. That's what he'll do. We're going to have garrisons and military bases throughout different lands to make sure that they're in order. That's what a prophecy says, that they're going to bring our sons and our daughters to Jerusalem, because we're going to be ruling over all these different lands. They're going to say, can we go with you? It's time to go to Jerusalem. We're going to learn the law. They're going to carry us to that land. We're going to tell them it's time to come. I got 3 days. In 3 days, it's the Sabbath day. Be mindful. Bring this, bring that. It's the Feast of Tabernacles. Make sure you got this. We're going to have to be on it. You know? Keep in mind, we are a nation of kings and priests. Right? So that's a garrison, a military base. Right? I know I spelled it wrong, Salaki. Let me type that in. Okay, military base. So we're going to have garrisons. And people, you have children born in military bases. You got families, you know. You got wives. People had their wives out there, you know, your sons, your daughters. It's like a small city. You have your mansions there and You might be in the land of Moab. Remember, Yahweh Shah said you're going to rule over 10 cities, 5 cities. You're going to rule over these cities. Right? So these things are going to happen. Now, let's go to Jeremiah 48. Right? Let's see how much. Okay, all right. I'm pressed for time, but that's okay, right? We winding down, right? Got about maybe 10 more precepts we want to get. So this is Jeremiah 48 and 46. Woe be unto thee, O Moab, the people of Chemosh perisheth, for thy sons are taken captives, and thy daughters captives. Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days, saith Yahweh. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. So they're going to be in hardcore slavery for a period of time. And afterwards, we're going to teach them the laws and the commandments. We're going to put some of these nations, or these nations rather, back in their land. Again, we covered that. We're going to reestablish the boundaries, put them back in their land. And from that hardcore bondage, they're going to go into a tributary service. They're going to be tributaries. We're going to have garrisons in their land. And we're going to make sure that they're doing things in order. Right? That's after the latter days. That's for the Moabites, but it's also for the other nations. Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse number 6. And afterward, I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith the Lord. So even the Ammonites, their captivity is going to be loosened. They're going to get put back in the land that we distribute unto them. Here's what you could do. Here's what you plant. Here's you got the year of the 3 years you got to sow the land. And the 4th year you have to let the tree be uncircumcised. It's the land Sabbath. 6 years you till the land. The 7th year don't touch it. So we're going to have to teach them all that when we put them back in their land. This is for plowing. This is for this animal's for this. This is for that. Right? That's this constellation. That's how you know it's. We're going to show them all that. So we're going to put them back in their land. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's stay in this chapter 49 and 36. So we covered the Ammonites, the Moabites. Here's your Elamites. Jeremiah 49 and 39. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith Yahweh. So after that 1,000 years of building, being taught the law, understanding your boundaries, they're going to be put back in their land. We're going to have the garrisons. We're going to have men set up to make sure they're in order, right? To keep the laws. And then once they learn that, they're going to have to come to Jerusalem and keep the commandments and bring offerings and gifts. Let's get that in Haggai chapter 2. Okay, let's go to Haggai chapter 2 and verse number 7. It reads, I'm going to start at 6. Haggai chapter 2 and 6. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once is it a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come. And I will fill this house, meaning the temple, with glory, said the Lord of hosts. So the nations are going to be forced to come to Jerusalem. We don't care if they want to come or if they do want to come. If they don't, I'm tired. I've been working all week. Can I get some rest? Won't want to hear that. You better get your rest now. In America, you better get your rest. You're going to be working from sun up till sundown. And they're going to be in the hood. Remember, all the curses on us is going to go on them. Last time I checked, it said, curse shalt thou be in the city, and curse shalt thou be in the field. They're going to be in the ghettos. They're going to be cursed in the city. They're going to be in the hood. They're going to be living in what you call a shanty town. You know? Pull this up. They're going to be living in a shanty town. Look at this, man. Look at this. That's how they're going to be living. damn shanty town. They're not going to be living good, man. They will not be living good. Look at this. They're going to be getting beat. You're going to have men that wake them up, man, at the sound of the cock crowing, the rooster, 3 a.m. That's the sound of the cock crowing. They're going to hear that you know the sound, man. And they're going to get up out their damn bed. Ain't no sleeping in. Ain't no sitting on the edge of the bed like we do. I know I do that sometimes. When I get up, man, you just sitting on the edge of the bed like, damn. You know? Got to deal with these damn devils today. They ain't going to be doing that. They're going to get out these shanty towns. They're going to be in a single file line like they're in the military. And we're going to walk out of our mansions, right? We're going to have our crowns on. You know, you're going to have your mantle on, your scepter in your hand. You're going to have heathen carrying, because you ain't going to touch that floor. That floor is polluted, man. So they're going to be carrying you like they carried King Xerxes. When you look at, we're getting a lot of pictures. Let me see this. If you've seen 300, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Look at this. And they was carrying this guy. Man, they made this guy. Look at all these people carrying him. That's how you're going to be. They're going to bear you on their shoulders. And you're going to come down in this shanty town right here. And you're going to have servants and taskmasters of the nations to tell them what their task is going to be for the day and how much cotton you need picked. This is real. Because remember, they got to bring stuff to the temple. There's a quota. When you're in tributary or you got to pay taxes, you can't pay what you want to pay. You got to hit them numbers. You got metrics. You got KPIs. They're going to be on a tight schedule. They're not getting 2 15s and a 30. Jake, you get 2 15s and a 30. Ain't no what's that stuff Jake got? ADP. You know what I'm talking about, man. All that stuff that Jake got, man. You got to clock in and clock out. So they're going to be in that single file line. You're going to tell them where to go, what to do, and how to do it. And then when the sun go down, they're going to be done. The Lord said in Psalms 104, man goeth into his work into the evening. So once that sun go down, they're going to be able to, well, first they're going to have to serve us. Let me get that first in Luke. The Lord said, man goeth into his work into the even. I haven't brought this precept out in a while. Right? This is man, I gotta find this precept. Right, bear with me. Right, I haven't brought this on a while. Luke 12, right, 37. Where am I at? 12. Okay, here it is. Luke chapter 12. No, that's not what I want. Right, I want I'll have to find it. Right, but the prophecy essentially goes where, let me get this real quick. Gird yourself. Right, it's in Luke. So Salaki, bear with me. Just got to get this. Okay, here it is. Luke 17 and 8. Salaki. Right, Luke chapter 17 and verse number 7. I'll start at 7. But which of you, having a servant plowing or feeding cattle, will say unto him by and by, when he has come from the field, go and sit down and meat? And will not rather say unto him, make ready, wherewith I may sup, and gird thyself and serve me till I have eaten and drunken, and afterward thou shalt eat and drink. And that's how it's going to go. They're going to come from that field when the sun go down. They're going to want to kick their shoes off and relax. You're going to say, what the hell are you doing, man? You hear my stomach growling, boy? You don't hear me and my family hungry? Don't you know I got a feast? I'm inviting Daniel, Joseph, and Abraham. If we're blessed to be there, get back in that field, man, and make me something to eat. You gonna say that's me? And Yahweh Shah said that. Yahweh Shah said, when your slave is done working, he got to serve you. I mean, that's cutthroat. That's a cutthroat scripture right here. You might think that's inhumane. That's what the Lord said. He said, wait till I'm done. He said, till I have eaten and drunken, and afterward thou shalt eat and drink. And we're going to take our time eating and drinking. We ain't got no rush. We ain't got nowhere to go. We ain't got nothing to do. So we're going to take our time. We're going to laugh. We're going to eat, drink. It might be, 1 a.m. by the time we're done. There's no limits on how long it can take us to eat and drink. So once we're done, then they can eat and drink. And they might have 2 hours to eat and drink and get sleep. Because 3 a.m., the cock crowing, and they back in the field. And we're not even going to thank them. Because that's what the Lord said. Verse 9. Doth he thank that servant? Are you going to say Thawada? No. Doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I troll not, meaning hell no. Once you're done, we're just going to look at you. Ain't no Thawadas. Adawan. We're just going to look at you, man. We're going to say, get to bed. Get in the bed. Like you tell your kids, man, hey, get in the bed. Time for bed. Night. Right? We're going to put them to bed, man. So we're going to disrespect and violate you heathen, man, straight up. We're going to be completely disrespectful and break all types of your manhood violation code to you, man. We're going to sun you, how they say. So that's what's going to be happening. They're going to have to come and give gifts, man. Let's go to Isaiah 49. Right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 49. We're not playing with you heathen, man. Isaiah 49 and 22. Thus said the Lord God, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles. These are actual heathen. And set up my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. Because when they're in their land, we have these barracks and these garrisons, and we're ruling over them. When it's time to come to Jerusalem, on the Sabbath days and new moons and feast days, we're not walking. They're going to carry us in their arms and upon their shoulders, like I showed you. Where is it at? This is what they call, I pulled this up plenty of times. Royalty in the ancient world was carried upon the shoulders like this. This is what Isaiah is talking about. So the heathen are going to carry us, and we're going to be in our palanquins, right? And they're going to carry our families all the way from wherever they are, all the way to Jerusalem. Okay, that's what Isaiah 49 is talking about. Doesn't mean they carry you like you carry your son at the petting zoo on the top of your shoulders. They're going to carry us like this. Right? And if they drop us, they're going to get put to death. Straight up. So we're going to be carried upon their shoulders and in their arms. That's what Isaiah is talking about. Verse number 23. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. So once they carry us to Jerusalem, or where we got to go, once we step out to get where we got to go, they're going to be bowing down to us as we walk. We're going to be living lavishly, man. Like when you watch The Lion King and all them animals was bowing down, the giraffes and the elephants and the rhinos and the zebras. That's how we going to be when we walking around. All these beasts, these nations just going to be bowing down with they face toward the ground. when we travel to Jerusalem and to other parts of the earth. Let's go to Isaiah 60. So some of them, they're going to be carrying us like this. The rest of them, they're going to be carrying gifts. They're going to be carrying gold and silver and other things to the temple at a set time, not whenever they want to do it, at a time appointed by God, right? Through the priest, right? Let's go to Isaiah 60. Okay. Slakia. I want Isaiah chapter 60. This is Isaiah chapter 60 and verse number 5. I'm going to start at 4. Lift up thine eyes round about and see, and they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. So they're going to bring forth all these gifts, right? All these gifts and gold and incense and beast of burden, right? And all these things to keep the service of the Most High going, okay? The multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, and they of Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. So we're going to tell them you have to bring gold, you're going to have to bring incense. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. So we're going to have sacrifices done in that temple, right? So sacrifices are going to be done in the temple that's going to be built, but that's going to take time. And the heathen are going to bring these sacrifices, bring these gifts, bring all these things, man. Right? That's the prophecy. Let's go to, like I said, we got a few more. Let's go to Micah, right? Micah chapter 4. So after they've been taught the laws of God, after they've been proselytized, which is going to take a long time, then they are going to be taught set times when they have to come to Jerusalem. They're going to be taught what they can bring, what's not acceptable, how much gold is enough gold. Is that the right incense? When can you come? What do you wear? What time do you have to be there? They have to be taught that because everything's going to be done in order. Micah chapter 4 and verse number 1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. So they're going to have to come to Jerusalem, and they're going to learn the law, right? They're going to have to sit down, or however the Most High sets it up, and the priests and the ministers, every Sabbath or every new moon or every appointed time, we're going to go over the law. You know, in the book of Acts, it tells you that they would read Moses' law in a synagogue every Sabbath day. Let me get that real quick. Acts chapter 15, right? And verse, let's see, it says Moses read every Sabbath day. All right, Acts chapter 15. Let me get this real quick. All right, here it is, lucky. Acts 15 and 21. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day. Right? So even Yahushua was in the synagogue every Sabbath, and they went over the law and the prophets. So coming to Jerusalem, it's not going to be fun time for them. It's straight business. Now you could say some heathen are going to be happy. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you be? You're not working. Right? I mean, every day off is a good day. But some of those heathen are going to be mad that they have to travel, that they got to get up, that they got to carry us and bear us. They might be happy they're not in the field, but it's still It's still gonna be, it ain't nothing nice. And it's gonna be straight business. We're gonna go over this law. Today we're gonna go back over this law. We're not breaking down the 7 heads and the 10 horns and prophecy and giving them wine. It's straight business. Like when you go to a university and a professor is there, ain't no fun and games, man. You get kicked out that classroom. So when they get there, they better be ready to learn and they better be attentive. If we hear snickering, giggling, I went over that already, right? It's going to be in order. It's going to be a service. So it's going to be done in order. Stop thinking the heathen are just coming up having fun. It ain't fun time. It's business. Where the laws and the commandments come out, man. Right? It's going to be business. It's going to be fun for us, but it's going to be straight business for them. And after they're done, it ain't a sleepover. I just want to sleep. And it ain't a sleepover. You're going to have to carry us back. And then get ready for work. You better hope we don't throw a feast when the sun go down. Because right after that, the Lord says, 6 days shalt thou labor. Ain't no Monday through Friday in the kingdom. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. So when that sun go down, so-called Saturday night, right to work. So they're going to have it bad. Ain't no Sundays off. Sunday, fun day, family day. Ain't no family day. 6 days shalt thou labor. You're going to do all your work, man. You know? So let's read on. Micah 4:2. And many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord and to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So they're going to want to come to the temple so they can have some time off, but it really ain't going to be time off. And they're going to have to learn the laws and the commandments. Let's go to Zechariah 8. Right? And ain't going to be no wars either. Ain't going to be no more wars in the earth. Ain't going to be no more battles in the earth. Ain't going to be no more fighting. The earth is going to be ran in order according to the commandments. Zechariah chapter 8 and verse 20. Thus said the Lord of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitant of one city shall go to another, saying, let us go speedily to pray before the Lord and to seek the Lord of hosts. I will go also. So they're going to say it's time to go to the temple, right? It's that time again. Let's speedily. Let's hurry up. We know what happened last time when you took your time. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before the Lord. So they're going to have to come pray before the Most High. Thus said the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. So the fear of the Most High is going to be on us. And they're going to know that the Lord is with us and not with them. And their only protection, their only safe haven, their only rest is going to be by cleaving to the children of Israel. That's going to be their only rest, by cleaving to the children of Israel. Let's go to the book of Isaiah 66 and 23. Like I said, we've got a few more, right? Isaiah chapter 66 and 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, said the Lord. So every new moon, every Sabbath that links up with Micah the 4th chapter, they're going to come and worship. There may be a portion where we go over the law, then we go over the prophets, then we go over this and we go over that. There's no great detail how that service is going to be, but it's not just going to be you sit there and you rest all day, because they're going to have to go back over that law. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So all the heathen that don't get right, that don't act up, they're gonna be put to death. You come up to the temple, you get jammed up, things might happen. It's gonna be dead bodies there. It's gonna be a witness to the heathen about what's gonna happen when you sin and when you go off. That's why the Most High is gonna have that happen. It's not literally these fires gonna be burning forever. It's just the Most High is gonna have an example to the heathen about what will happen to you when you disobey the laws of God when they come up to Jerusalem. All right. So that's what the Most High is saying. Let's go to Tobit. Let's go back to Tobit, chapter 14 and verse number 7. So shall all nations praise the Lord, and his people shall confess God, and the Lord shall exalt his people, and all those which love the Lord God in truth and justice shall rejoice, showing mercy to our brethren. Right? So they're going to rejoice and serving the Lord. Some of the heathen, I will say they may rejoice, you know, but it's not going to be a utopia for them. It's not going to be a utopia for them. Psalms chapter 22 and verse number 27. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. For the kingdom is Yahweh's, Bashmi Yahushai's, and he is the governor among the nations. All they that be fat upon earth shall eat and worship, and they that go down to the dust shall bow before him, and none can keep alive his own soul. So again, that links up with all of the nations having to serve Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, and the Israelites, right? And once we're in our mansions and we're living lavishly and we're in Jerusalem, we're going to have these heathen working and building cities and other things that we deem pleasurable. Okay? So that's been a sequence of events from getting beamed up in the chariots to the nations coming and bringing tribute to Jerusalem. So again, Most High willing, you were edified. This is a prophetic order of events for the first 1,000 years, and we even touched on what's going to happen after that 1,000 years. And by that time, these nations are bringing gifts and things of that nature. Esau is going to be exterminated, pursuant to Obadiah verse 18. He's going to be done away with at that time. That goes back to Ezekiel 47, right? They cast up mire and dirt, and they won't be healed because they'll be exterminated. So Most High willing, brothers are prepping and they're ready for the Feast of Dedication that falls tomorrow night at sundown, right? So you got back-to-back Sabbath days, right? Keep the Sabbath holy, no buying, no working, no selling. Lord willing, brothers are in the book of First Maccabees, Second Maccabees. You're in that spirit of righteousness and true holiness. And Most High willing, you're edified. Kwame Shalom. Shalom.